town of Dry Creek, 1800s Arizona territory, was the kind of place where dust outnumbered people. Folks gathered in the saloon each evening, trading stories and whiskey. So when a quiet stranger named Elias Boone rode in and paid $1 silver for the old Henderson barn, laughter spread faster than tumbleweed. "That place is cursed," the blacksmith said. "Ain't no man lasted a night in it." Elias just nodded, pocketed his deed, and rode out to the edge of town. The barn stood gray and broken under the red sky, the wind whispering through its rotting boards like a warning. Elias tied his horse and stepped inside. The air smelled of dust and rusted metal. Cobwebs clung to the beams and the wooden floor creaked under his boots. He ran a hand along the splintered wall. "Not cursed," he murmured, "just forgotten." He struck a match and lit a lantern. Its glow revealed broken tools, an old wagon wheel, and faint scratch marks on the floorboards. He knelt, tracing them with his fingers. They formed lines, almost like tallies. Then he heard it, a faint rattle from beneath the board, something cold and hollow. He pried open the planks with a crowbar, the sound echoing through the empty barn. A dark hole yawned beneath him and a smell of damp earth rose up. The light caught metal, chains anchored deep into the ground. Elias froze, shackles old and iron half buried in the dirt. He lowered the lantern, revealing more, a crude wooden beam with hooks and the remnants of old rope. Someone had been kept here long ago. The hairs on his neck stood. He whispered, "What happened in this place?" But the wind offered no answer, only the moan of history. By dawn, word spread that Elias had stayed the night in the barn and hadn't left. The townsfolk whispered as they passed, curious but uneasy. Old Sheriff Dalton rode out that afternoon. "You still alive in there, Boone?" he called. Elias stepped out, eyes tired but steady. "Found something under the floor," he said, voice low. Dalton dismounted, squinting at him. "Chains?" Elias continued. "And bones." The sheriff stiffened. "Bones?" Elias nodded. "Human ones." The color drained from Dalton's face. He spat into the dust. "Lord help us. That barn was built on blood." They dug for hours. Under the floor they found remains, small bones, broken wrists still bound in rusted iron. The sheriff stared, hat in hand. "Slavers," he muttered. "Before the war. They used this barn to hide 'em." Elias looked around the shadowed space, anger burning in his chest. "Not anymore," he said. "Not while I'm here." That night he stayed again, lantern burning through the dark. He wasn't afraid of ghosts, he'd known worse. As the wind howled, he whispered to the unseen, "You're free now." Somewhere in the rafters a chain shifted once, and then fell silent forever. Weeks passed and Elias rebuilt the barn plank by plank. He replaced rotted boards, cleaned the floors, and buried the bones on the hill under a wooden cross. Townsfolk watched from afar, uneasy but intrigued. "What's he building?" asked the barber. "A schoolhouse," said Elias one morning when someone finally asked. "For the ones no one remembers." The laughter that once mocked him began to fade. Soon children gathered there, learning to read and write where screams once echoed. The wind that blew through Dry Creek seemed softer, carrying laughter instead of sorrow. One night the sheriff visited again, standing in the doorway as children's chalk scribbles covered the old barn walls. "You've changed this place, Boone," he said quietly. Elias smiled faintly. "Places don't stay haunted if you give them new purpose." The sheriff nodded. "You're a strange man, but a good one." As the two men shared coffee in the doorway, lightning flickered over the desert. The old chain still hung on one wall, clean now, shining like silver in the lamplight, a reminder of what had been and what would never be again. Years later, when Elias Boone passed, the people of Dry Creek gathered at the hill where he'd buried the forgotten souls. They laid him beside them, beneath the same wooden cross he'd carved. The barn still stood strong, filled with laughter and light. No one feared it anymore. In time, travelers passing through asked about it. The townsfolk would smile and say, "That's Boone's place, the man who bought a curse and turned it into hope." And when the evening wind swept over the prairie, some swore they could still hear the faint clinking of chains, soft, peaceful, and finally free.